On our journey around the Welsh coast, we're following a route well travelled by pilgrims seeking spiritual solace. Isolation has always been sought by those needing space to think. A very big idea was conceived in the quiet of Red Wharf Bay. In 1947, one visitor here came up with a notion that would change the world: of motoring. A vehicle dreamt up on this beach would kick-start the British car industry after the turmoil of war. Dick Strawbridge is going back in time.
It's Easter 1947 and two brothers are on holiday here. They stop so one can draw a sketch in the sand of an idea he's been working on. It's for a novel vehicle. Starts off with a very conventional rear axle. There's two wheels here.
The back wheels connect to a box that also drives the front axle. So, four-wheel drive. The concept was a cross between truck and tractor.
Nobody knows what the original sketch looked like, and mine may be a bit ropey, but this is the basis of a utility vehicle that conquered the world.
The Land Rover. The man who drew that blueprint on the Welsh sand dunes was chief designer at the Rover Car Company, Maurice Wilks. Since its conception in 1947, the Land Rover's been seen in every far-flung part of the globe, in the toughest terrain. Now we're bringing one of the very first back home, to the beach where it all began.
To understand the secrets of its success, we have to take the skin off and get down to the nuts and bolts to see what makes this tough guy tick. Ready?
I'm stripping away the Land Rover's bodywork to reveal the design that Wilks sketched in the sand some 60 years ago. I could hardly have a better model to study.
So how old is this vehicle? Which one is it?
This is pre-production number 16.
Prototype 16?
Yeah.
So there's only 15 older Land Rovers in this one?
Yes.
And you're letting us take it apart?
Most modern cars need a fancy toolkit and plenty of time to strip down. Not this one.
It's amazing. It's nearly taken apart. A couple of spanners, and that's all the bits. It's so simple, it's great.
Over 2 million Land Rovers have been sold worldwide. But when Maurice Wilks drew up his design, the plan was for a quick fix, a runabout, to get his business through the post-war slump. In 1947, Britain was almost bankrupt. Steel was in short supply. So the Land Rover's bodywork was made from aluminium. Just one of Wilks' many bright ideas. Testing the Land Rover was a family affair. Maurice Wilks came to the beach with his children to put the prototypes through their paces. To see what Wilks came up with, we're stripping the skin off one of his early models. But what about the man himself? What made the car's creator, Maurice Wilks, tick? I'm with his son Stephen, in a car he rode in with his dad. This is Land Rover number 1, the vehicle that started it all. An adventure that began on family holidays some 60 years ago.
We've come down onto the sand, play in the sea, and it was back into the Land Rover and back up to the hotel.
Do you remember the trials?
Yeah, well, it was over dunes, it was over hillocks, it was through wet ground, it was through the sea itself sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was smashing up everywhere.
As a youngster growing up, it must have been a very exciting time with all these inventions and ideas.
Yeah, well, Dad was always interested in something. You know, I mean, it might be astronomy, or it could be electrical things. But he really developed a vehicle that was useful for him. He felt there was a need to have a vehicle that would do more than just what a car would do. It would be a farmer's vehicle, as well as being something which would be useful for the more sort of general public.
The first time the public saw the Land Rover was at the Amsterdam Motor Show in 1948. And it was a big hit. By 1959, 250,000 had been sold. At the peak of its popularity, over 50,000 Land Rovers a year were produced. Early on, canny Maurice Wilks had his sights set on the military market. By testing his new vehicle on the beach, he showed the British Army it could cope with desert conditions. During the trials, Maurice fine-tuned the Land Rover's design, stripping it back to basics, just as we've done with our early example.
And here we go.
With the bodywork removed, the genius of Wilks' design is laid bare, starting with a strong box chassis. It gave the vehicle great stability over all terrain, and the chassis was complemented by another innovation, permanent four-wheel drive.
Four-wheel drive means the power from the engine goes to all four wheels all the time, which means it's really difficult to get stuck. It was also a do-anything vehicle. We're talking drivability and practicality. Here we've got a powered takeoff, which means that farmers could drive agricultural machinery.
The Land Rover wasn't just perfected on this beach, it was born here. On the day in 1947 that Maurice Wilks drew his sketch in the sand.